Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these kind of videos, please remember to click like down below to offset those dislikes. But I had a number of people link me a video that, even though the title of the video and the point made is technically true, the video itself was horrifically bad, and that's by Mike Thurston. So let me go ahead and put on my +5 How to Speechcraft and let's talk about this. And this is going to be one of these examples of why I have a problem with fake natties who have probably never spent a year training clean in their entire life. When they put out training information for an audience that's largely clean, largely unenhanced, it really is a problem when they actually don't know anything about how to train that way. And Mike is a perfect example of this. And even worse, people who look great and look like they're in shape who are completely falling apart and out of shape. Okay, and that's a big deal there. And a lot of people kind of spin me the other direction, like, you don't look phenomenal, and then they realize that in my 40s, I still outperform most of their heroes. Like, I don't have the performance and mobility problems this guy has, right? This is a non-issue for me, not even close. And that's sad, because I'm someone who everyone talks about being unimpressive and, again, genetically average and in my 40s. Like, if it right now at my age, at 42, if I was performing and as out of shape as he is and performing as bad as he is in this video, I would actually be really upset. Like, that would be unacceptable for someone who's serious about their training. And that's a problem. But let's go over to the title of the video. Do you need to squat to build massive legs? No, you don't need to. You don't need to, but it'd be real helpful. It'd be real helpful. What do I mean you don't need to? Okay. You don't need to consume a single gram of dietary carbs at any point in your life to gain muscle or performance. Okay, how's that for a statement? Can you get really strong and really big without ever consuming any carbohydrates? No, you don't need to, but it'd be a pretty useful tool at certain points if you did. Okay, see how that works? If you want to lose significant amounts of body fat, do you need to count any of your macros, including protein? No, you don't need to. It's not necessary. It can be done without doing so. However, let's go over to the point, it'd probably be a pretty good idea if you did. I'm not saying you got to weigh everything out, but you know what? If you at least track your calories and your protein, it would probably be pretty helpful towards that goal. But do you need to do it? No, you don't need to do it. It's not an absolute requirement. Let's come back over to the point of the squats. It is an absolute requirement. No, but it would probably be a pretty good idea. Let's come back over to the point of being athletic and strong and fit and all of that. If anybody's out here saying, oh, I train purely for hypertrophy and I don't care about anything else, I'm sorry, you're a ridiculous clown and I can't take you seriously. Okay? And I'm not saying that as someone who doesn't care about hypertrophy. I am a strength athlete. We usually need to be as stacked as possible in our weight class. We need to maximize hypertrophy, even for what I do. So believe me, guys, I care about hypertrophy. I do hypertrophy training in my training. I do a lot of volume. I have a lot of accessory movements where I actually do 5s, 6s, 8s, 10s. Right? You guys see me do this stuff. I obviously care about size, even for strength purposes, right? I get that. I'm not telling you not to get jacked. What I'm telling you is that Mike is an example of what happens when people say, oh, I don't care about any of that. Well, then you could possibly end up where he is, where you just have to use illicit substances to gain most of your size and train terrible, have no mobility, terrible strength, everything else, and be completely unathletic and completely out of shape while looking good. All right, that's the downside of that mentality, because it's very possible to end up there because he is completely weak and out of shape. So what do you mean he looks good? I'm not talking about his looks. I'm talking about his ability to even squat. He can't even squat. He cannot put a barbell on his back and just do a normal squat. Do you understand that there are grandmothers who go to strength gyms who are in their 60s who have no trouble squatting? Who squat 200 pounds to appropriate depth? He can't even squat to depth. Okay? How does that happen? Well, it happens because he, number one, has no mobility. He doesn't work on any mobility. He trains too many partials and too many machines. What's the end result? His joints are immobile. If you have no mobility, isn't that part of fitness and being in shape? What do we think of as all the elements of being really in shape? I mean, obviously body composition is part of being in shape, right? That's part of it. Yeah, we all agree. Having a good strength base, having decent conditioning, and conditioning doesn't mean body fat, it means cardiovascular conditioning, right? There's a number of different factors involved. Mobility is one of them. Having decent mobility, good strength and flexibility through the full range of motion of your joints. Right? That's part of being in shape. That's part of being able to be physically active, injury-free. You need at least a decent amount of mobility. No one's saying you need to be like a yoga practitioner. No one's saying you need to be a gymnast, but you should have some basic mobility, and just being able to squat to depth is just a basic level of mobility that even an elderly person who works out should have. He can't even squat to depth. And here's where we get into the problem. Listen to his training stuff. What did he say the reason he can't squat is? Oh, my lower back gets too pumped and when I go too heavy. Let's come back over and talk about fake natties. Gentlemen, when you incorrectly load your back, all you guys who have used stuff, and we won't say what stuff is, when you use too many orals, because you go real hard on the orals, you get lower back pumps real easy, don't you? What happens when you use inappropriate loading? What happens when you don't use the best of technique when you lift? It makes it unbearable. So what happens when someone half squats, like he does? He's not able to squat to depth. He is not able to hit parallel at all, not even once. Half squatting. That loads your spine up more? That loads your spine up incorrectly? Yeah, it does. It can. What happens when you do that while you rely really, really heavily on oral anabolics? You get intense back spasms that are painful when you train. So here's a combination of a guy who has no mobility and is out of shape and uses a bunch of stuff to get his physique. The end result is that he struggles to train correctly. I think so many bodybuilders, a lot of stuff they do has to do with not training correctly. It's because they have to work around some of the side effects of the stuff they put in their body. And I've covered that in the past. There's a lot of different things that goes into that. They can't train correctly. He can't train correctly. Same thing. And then he tried to say, oh yeah, you got to train your legs more frequently. So I train mine every 5 days. You understand training your legs every 5 days is low frequency? Baseline is training your legs twice a week. Like you need to squat twice a week. If you aren't squatting twice a week, you're on low frequency training. Twice a week means 3 days and 4 days apart. Like if you squat twice every single week exactly, let's say you do Monday and Thursday. That's 3 and 4 days apart between the 2 days. It's not 5 days. 5 days is low frequency. Any muscle that you want to maximize muscle growth in, you have to train it twice a week if you are not putting illicit substances into your body. That's not optional. All the experts, all the best coaches, all the best researchers, everybody knows this. This is universally agreed upon. The entire strength and conditioning world knows this. Only heavily enhanced bodybuilders think that you have a leg day once a week. And there you have a guy who's saying, I train real frequently. I do my legs every 5th day on a bunch of machines. And some of those are half reps too. Do you notice that half of the machines he doesn't even hit depth on? And that's the other thing. You talk about not being able to feel your quads. Could it be that you're not actually even using the full range of motion of the knee joint? What do you think the quads do? Like, what's one of the most important functions of the quads? I'll give you a hint, Mike. It involves your knee joint, right? One of the most important functions of your quadriceps involves your knees. See, you're only doing partial reps for that major joint. The quad is responsible for the majority of the movement of. You don't think that's a factor? You don't think it's because you're doing half squats that that's part of the problem? So doesn't know how to train correctly, uses low frequency training, and then complains that the squats aren't working. Has no strength on the squats. His half squats are not with even that good of a weight. I would expect a guy his size, I would expect a guy who looks how he looks to at least have another plate on the bar when he squats, if he's going deeper on top of that. He has no strength base, no mobility, Nothing but enhanced gear use to get where he is. And then he wants to put out information for a largely clean audience who isn't enhanced. That's a problem. And that's not my issue. Is not that he uses stuff. I don't care if he uses stuff. The issue is that he doesn't know how to train without using stuff. He doesn't know how to train while using stuff either, or else he would probably be even bigger, because that's the other problem that we know. If he can't even squat without back pumps because he uses so many orals, how much stuff is this guy using? Would he be bigger if he learned how to train correctly while on it? Probably. But therein lies the point. We come back over to this point. Not the fact that he's a fake natty. It's the fact that he has no clue how to train. He has no clue how to train somebody who's not enhanced. How in the world is he going to put out useful information? I mean, people watching this video, kids watching this video, would think, watching him try to squat and do even some of these machines at half reps will build legs, they would think that doing the legs once every 5 days is a high frequency and acceptable. And they will make excuses as to why they can't squat. You guys see the problem there? His excuse for squatting isn't an anatomy one. His leverages are not one of the people who would struggle to build leg size with squats. Some people do have that problem. I'm looking at his structure. He's not one of them. So he's going to basically tell people not squat, don't squat, do half reps, and don't train your legs very often. And people think they're going to get in shape and get fit that way. People think that they're going to get jacked that way clean. This level of misinformation is a problem. This is a problem, guys. And I'm sure he's a nice person. I'm sure he's a great person deep down. But this video itself was very, very ignorant. Right? And that's a problem. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.